Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Let's rewind about 2 years ago to set the stage. My 43 male, ex-wife Lisa, 41 female, and I were married for 18 years. We had what I thought was a solid relationship, or at least in the beginning. We had a beautiful daughter, Emily, 18 female, who is the light of my life. Like any couple, we had our ups and downs, but we made it through thick and thin, or so I thought. A few years ago, I started noticing Lisa pulling away. She became more distant, more secretive, constantly on her phone. I chalked it up to stress. She had just started a new job, and I figured she was adjusting. But deep down, something wasn't sitting right. I'd ask her about it, and she'd brush me off, saying everything was fine. Emily even noticed the changes in her mom, but was too focused on finishing high school and prepping for college to say much. I don't like being that paranoid husband, so I let it go. I thought she'd come around. Spoiler, she didn't. Fast forward to the middle of last year, when the bomb dropped. Lisa was cheating on me, and not just some casual fling. She was head over heels for some guy she'd met at her new job, Mark, 35 male. I only found out because Emily caught them together, and she couldn't keep it in anymore. I was gutted. Betrayal doesn't even begin to cover what I felt. Here's where it gets worse. Emily had worked her butt off for years in school. I'm talking straight A's, extracurriculars, volunteering, the whole 9 yards. The goal was for her to attend a prestigious university. We've been saving for her college since she was born, contributing to her fund regularly, so when the time came, she wouldn't have to worry about tuition. Lisa and I had both agreed that Emily's education was our top priority. At least that's what I thought. After discovering Lisa's affair, I filed for divorce immediately. But then, I found out where all our money had gone. Lisa had drained Emily's college fund to bankroll Mark's lavish lifestyle. Expensive dinners, vacations, shopping sprees, all on Emily's future. I couldn't believe it. This wasn't just infidelity. It was betrayal on a whole other level. She had sacrificed our daughter's dreams for this guy. I confronted her, and she didn't even deny it. She cried, said she'd made a mistake, but at that point, I was beyond listening. I filed for divorce, and we went through a nasty legal battle. I won full custody of Emily, and Lisa was left with practically nothing. Honestly, I don't care. She'd made her bed. After the divorce, Lisa moved in with Mark, and that seemed to be that. Emily was devastated about the college fund, but I promised her I'd figure something out. I ended up taking out loans and using a good portion of my savings to make sure she could go to the school she wanted. I wasn't about to let Lisa's betrayal ruin my daughter's future. Now, here's where things get juicy. A few months after the divorce, I heard through the grapevine that Lisa and Mark's relationship was on the rocks. Mark was only interested in her while she had money to burn, and when that dried up, so did his affection. No surprise there, right? Gold diggers don't stick around when the gold runs out. Then, last month, I got the shock of my life. Lisa was pregnant. I couldn't believe it. And guess what? Mark wasn't interested in playing daddy. The moment he found out she was pregnant and broke, he bailed, left her high and dry. She had no money, no job. She'd quit to be with Mark full-time, and no place to live. Cue her showing up at my doorstep, sobbing, begging me to take her back. Yep, you read that right. She stood there, belly out, tears streaming down her face, pleading for me to let her back into my life. She said she was sorry, that she made a mistake, and that she didn't know what to do. Apparently, she had no family to turn to, and I was her last hope. I'll be honest, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After everything she'd done, after betraying me, destroying our family, stealing from our daughter, she had the audacity to show up on my doorstep and ask for help? For a split second, I considered it. I'm not a monster. But then I remembered Emily's face when I told her the college fund was gone. I remembered the sleepless nights, the heartache, the betrayal. So, I laughed. I actually laughed in her face. I couldn't help it. It just came out. The sheer absurdity of the situation hit me all at once. Then I shut the door. I didn't say anything, didn't give her a second glance. I just closed the door and walked away. Now, here's where I might be the a-hole. Word got out about what happened. Small town, you know how it is. My friends and family mostly support me, but some people are calling me cold-hearted. They say that while Lisa was awful, she's pregnant and vulnerable, and I should have at least helped her for the sake of the baby. They argue that the baby didn't ask for any of this, and that it's not fair to punish an innocent child for Lisa's mistakes, and that this child was my daughter's half-sibling. But here's the thing. It's not my baby. It's Mark's. And while I feel bad for the kid, I'm not about to let Lisa back into my life after everything she's done. I've worked too hard to rebuild myself and take care of Emily. I don't owe Lisa anything. Emily, for the record, is 100% on my side. She was furious when she found out her mom had stolen her college fund and wants nothing to do with her. She thinks I did the right thing by shutting the door. But the guilt is starting to creep in, and I'm wondering if I should have handled things differently. Reddit. Am I the a-hole for laughing in my ex-wife's face and refusing to help her, even though she's pregnant and broke? Or was I justified in protecting myself and my daughter from more pain? Edit for clarification. Some people have been asking about Lisa's family situation and why she didn't turn to them for help. Lisa's relationship with her family has always been strained, to put it mildly. They live in another state, and she hasn't spoken to them in years. When she left me for Mark, she cut off a lot of ties, so she doesn't have many people in her corner anymore. That's why she ended up at my door, I guess. Update. So I wasn't planning on posting an update, but things have gotten a little crazier since my original post. After I shut the door in Lisa's face, I thought that would be the end of it. But she didn't give up easily. Over the next week, she kept trying to reach out, calling, texting, even showing up again. I ignored her every time. Then she dropped a bombshell. She threatened to take me to court for spousal support. I nearly lost my mind when I heard that. I mean, she already stole from our daughter, and now she thinks she's entitled to more? Thankfully, I got my lawyer involved, and given the circumstances of the divorce and her infidelity, she doesn't have much of a case. But here's the kicker. Mark came back into the picture. He actually tried reaching out to me. The nerve, right? Apparently, Lisa had told them that I was refusing to help her and that I was being a deadbeat. I guess he got cold feet about being the father to her kid and wanted to see if I'd take her back so he could wash his hands of the whole situation. Needless to say, I shut that down real quick. I told him he was on his own and that he'd better step up and take responsibility for the mess he helped create. As for Lisa, I haven't heard from her in a while. From what I gather, she's couch surfing with some distant friends, but I don't know the details, and frankly, I don't care. My focus is on Emily and making sure she has everything she needs. I'm doing my best to move on from this whole ordeal and leave Lisa's drama behind. OP is absolutely not in the wrong here. Lisa betrayed him and his daughter on the deepest possible level. She stole from Emily's future to fund her affair. I can't even imagine how devastating that must have been for OP's daughter, not to mention how hard OP had to work to ensure she still got to go to college. The fact that Lisa now comes crawling back when her lover left her and she's pregnant? Honestly, it's laughable. And I don't blame OP for his reaction. Good for OP for standing his ground and protecting himself and Emily from further harm. OP has done enough. Mark can step up if he wants to. This is not OP's problem. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Honestly, I'm torn here. Lisa is absolutely wrong for what she did. There's no question about that. Stealing from your daughter's college fund is unforgivable. But at the same time, I can't help but feel bad for the baby. That child didn't ask for this situation. I'm not saying you need to take Lisa back, but do you think there's any way you could help the baby without helping Lisa? I just feel like the baby is innocent in all of this. As someone who went through something eerily similar, I can't tell you how proud I am of you for standing up for yourself and your daughter. My ex did something similar, and I was too weak at the time to do what you did. I let her back into my life because of the innocent baby argument, and it destroyed me. The manipulation never stops with people like Lisa. You are 100% justified in shutting that door and protecting your family. Trust me when I say you saved yourself a world of future pain. The sheer audacity of Lisa to think she can come crawling back to you after everything she's done is mind-blowing. She didn't just cheat. She ruined your daughter's future and your financial security. And now that she's burned through her lover and her money, she expects you to pick up the pieces? Hell no. You're not just not the a-hole. You're a damn hero for standing up for yourself and your daughter. Keep that door shut and never look back. I grew up in a small southern town, went to a mid-sized college for fashion merchandising, went to work in my field, and 3 years ago I met my fiancé. Let's call him Barry. I am reasonably successful at my job, and Barry is ridiculously successful at his, in addition to coming from a fairly well-off family. We started dating long distance, and then I moved to his city with a promotion to regional, and we moved in together. I love this city and all of my new friends here. I love my new position, and I love my fiancé. We're looking at houses and everything. We're a great match. Barry is charming, wonderful, thoughtful, and attentive. Everything I want in a man. His family is very supportive of us and our plans, as is mine. When he proposed last year with a beautiful ring at the beach, I gleefully accepted. We talked about it and we agreed on a prenup to protect us both, in case of the worst. My motivation was to protect the inheritance I'm anticipating from my grandmother, a family farm of about 50 acres, and my parents' home when they eventually pass. There's also some jewelry and antique china and other things I would never want to lose. It's not a lot, compared to Barry's holdings, but it's mine, and I would never want anything to happen to it. Nor would I want anything from Barry if we divorced, so I didn't think anything of agreeing to a prenup. Only now, his lawyer is putting it together. We're still over 8 months out of the wedding date, so this is a perfectly reasonable step. My lawyer looked it over and agreed it was pretty fair, according to the laws of our state. I agreed with him that we should go ahead with it, and he made the arrangements for this Friday. I went ahead and took the day off to go sign the papers and have lunch with Barry to celebrate. But when I got back from my attorney, I noticed that part of what I'll be expected to do is to participate in a polygraph examination. So will Barry. I can put together a list of questions for him, and he can do the same for me. But we'll be making the answers hooked up to a lie detector. I've done these in the past for security checks, so I know how they work. But here's the problem. When Barry and I got together at first, we were exchanging particulars after our first date. We met at Virgin Gorda, BVI, beautiful. And he casually asked about the number of men I'd been with. The usual S-history stuff all adults do. At the time, I didn't think much of it and gave him my usual answer, 5. That seemed reasonable, even a little conservative at the time. I only counted long-term relationships since high school, and the boy I lost my virginity to as real relationships, not the high school boys I fooled around with or the other guys I've met. But here's the thing. In the suggestions my attorney sent me for questions, where he told me that the other side will be asking similar questions, there are a lot about S past and infidelity. So here's my problem. I wasn't entirely honest with Barry back then. My actual count of guys I've had S with is higher. I was a free spirit in college before I figured out what I wanted to do, and took a year off to travel before graduating. That was a very fun year, S speaking. I made a lot of mistakes, of course, but I was getting valuable experience and learning a lot about myself. But I know Barry would not be happy with the real number, maybe even enough to postpone or cancel the wedding. That would be devastating to me. But his family is a little conservative and religious. I know he doesn't have much respect for infidelity or women who sleep around. I'm terrified that he'll ask me those questions or learn about the few times I've cheated in past relationships. We've been together almost constantly for 3 years, and I love him deeply. I don't know what to do. I'm no longer that girl who did all those things. I've grown and matured. I just don't think Barry will see it that way. He's a lot less S experienced than me, only 8 partners total. And he does get a little jealous when I mention my exes. He found out about something I did with one guy that I've declined to do with Barry, and he was hurt about it for weeks. I don't know what he'll do if he learns about all that I've done. So what do I do? I've already confirmed my appointment for Friday before I figured this out, and now I'm a train wreck. If I back out, he's going to want to know why. If I admit lying, he's not going to trust me. I'm a basket case and can't even go into work over this. Thoughts? I feel like someone alerted him to your behavior and he's trying to smoke you out. He knows you lied and just wants the proof. That, or he just doesn't trust you, which is apparently well-founded. Either way, you wouldn't be in this mess if you didn't lie. Your whole relationship is built on deceit. Did you really think it would last forever? A polygraph for a prenup is very strange. What's even stranger to me is how you would consider entering into a marriage with someone that you yourself admitted lying to. Now, I agree with you that it shouldn't matter how many partners you've had beforehand. Unfortunately, not everyone feels that way. For many people, it is very important. If you are really considering marrying this man, then I think you owe it to him to be honest. Just because it is not important to you doesn't mean it's not important to him, and his feelings are just as relevant as yours. We all have our own deal breakers. Please be honest with him before you marry him. Jesus! This isn't a wedding, it's a crime scene. I think you should, as a matter of course, refuse to answer any and all questions that do not relate to financial or criminal matters. If you specifically say S matters, then you give the game away. But really, a polygraph for a prenup? You pair are both barking mad for agreeing to this. If there is any way out of this, say you didn't notice this and back out of this section on both sides. Update. I came clean with my fiancé. Good news, polygraph test is off. Bad news, so is the wedding. He got upset and asked how many. I told him the number didn't matter. It was the fact that I lied that I was feeling guilty about. He agreed it was disturbing to him, but he wanted to know how many men. I tried to tell him it wasn't the issue, but he wasn't listening. He got a little angry. He doesn't shout or use a lot of profanity, but I could tell he was very upset by his face. He said it was important to him to know. I told him it wasn't important to me, that it wouldn't have an impact on our relationship. I really don't want the exact number publicized, but it's less than 40. Barry told me that he didn't like the idea of having so many lovers in my past, that we ran the chance of running into one at the airport. He was also upset when I told him that, yes, some of them were technically better lovers and more well-endowed than he was. That hurt him a lot. I didn't want to say that to him, but he insisted. It's apparently important to him. If he wants to know how many people you've slept with before marrying you, you should tell him the truth. You've already lied and now he doesn't trust you. So then not even telling him the real number is going to make him trust you even less. People say the amount of people you've slept with shouldn't matter. Well, you don't decide what other people think. If it matters to him and he won't want to marry someone who has lied, cheated, and been promiscuous in the past, then he is allowed. I met my boyfriend, Brad, in college 4 years ago. Started off as friends, yada yada. He was really kind, generous, and very geeky, which immediately drew me in. Other than this issue, we have a really incredible relationship. Like, seriously, he's treated me better than any guy I've ever been with. Our communication has been really stellar up until now, and we haven't had any serious issues before this. We usually resolve our disagreements pretty quickly and don't stay mad at each other very long. So, my older sister has been trying for a baby with her husband for more than a year and finally got pregnant with their first baby 5.5 months ago. We're all really super excited. It's a baby girl, blah blah. The baby shower is this weekend. I've been having spasms shopping for gifts and stuff. I'm really pumped. The shower is girls only. As I understand it, it's pretty traditional to have girls-only showers if your baby is a girl. I don't see a problem with it at all, and that's how my sister wants it. Yesterday, I took Brad shopping with me for some finishing touches on the baby basket I'm going to bring. I was enthusiastic about it to him, and he made a comment about what kind of drinks he should bring. I said, "Oh, it's girls only. Sorry, dude. I'll bring back food if there's any left, though." And then just sort of laughed it off. He looked kind of surprised for a minute, muttered, "Really?" and then dropped it. The rest of our trip through the store and the rest of our trip home was okay, but a lot quieter. I kept asking him in the car if he was upset, but he just told me it was nothing and kept doing stuff on his phone. We got back to our place and I went to unload the groceries, and he just made a beeline to our computer room and shut the door. I went in there and asked him what the heck his problem was, and he looked at me and said, "You should know." He's not usually passive-aggressive, so I was pretty alarmed, but I figured I'd leave him alone for a while and let him come to me when he was ready to talk. Later last night, bedtime came, and he was still on his computer, so I came in there to finally have a talk with him about what's wrong. I asked him if it was about the baby shower, no boys allowed thing, and what the comment earlier was about, and he said, "I don't think you should go." This really upset me. I asked him why not. Because it's sexist. Girls only? Why can't men come? That's misandrist. I explained to him that it's a tradition thing, that I don't think it's as big of a deal as he's making it out to be, and then asked him why guys would want to come watch women gush about girl stuff for hours anyway. He said it's ducking sexist, and that's gender stereotyping. If I went anyway, would they call R? I was completely flabbergasted. We ended up having a huge argument over it, for the stupidest ducking reason in the world, and this all came out of left field. He kept saying stuff about female privilege and gender segregation, and all of this stuff about how my sister is discriminating against men by not allowing them to attend her baby shower. Her husband's not even going, for Christ's sake. I couldn't stop thinking about how stupidly he was getting over such a small thing. I ended up telling him that he was just mad only because he couldn't go, that he didn't really want to go anyway, and he yelled, "You are supporting the matriarchy by going to the shower!" I was beyond frustrated and decided that the best thing to do was to let it rest and wake up in the morning so we could have a calm discussion about it. I slept on the couch to give him some space. The next morning, I approached him and said, "Brad, I understand that your feelings are hurt, but please let me explain to you that this shower is important for me and my family, and please respect my sister's preference that men not attend." He told me flat out that he was going to go anyway in protest, and then he was going to educate my sister on misandry. I'd had enough. I got up and left. I've been at my mom's for a while now. I haven't told anybody in the family about this yet. I think I just need an objective opinion from strangers on the internet, as stupid as that sounds. Please understand, we aren't political people. I don't do the gender politics thing. It's just not something that I spend time thinking about. Brad has never given any indication that he passionately cared about this stuff until yesterday. I'm just really shocked that we've had 4 years together and this is just now popping up. I'm in a really scary place right now because I'm not sure I totally know who he is after 4 years of being by his side. I feel like he was a total a-hole to me last night and this morning, and this is so unlike him. He's always been really good to my family, sister included. Why the nastiness now? Or am I the a-hole? Please help, Reddit. I love my boyfriend, but I don't want to have arguments over stupid gender politics that have me sleeping on the couch, and I do not want him crashing my sister's baby shower to prove a point and ruin my future niece's birth. Edit. After reading all the comments so far, thank you guys for offering your advice and perspectives. I've decided that I'm going to go home and try to have a talk about this ridiculousness. I turned my phone on and there was at least 10 texts and 2 voicemails. He said a lot of stuff, but it boiled down to, "I'm sorry it turned into a huge fight. Come home so we can talk about this. This is really important. You don't understand how this makes me feel," etc. I'll update if something happens. This is pretty bizarre. Setting aside the gender politics, it's incredibly rude to invite oneself to something you are not invited to. He's being very rude, and he's dragging a lot of interesting gender politics into it as well. Same-gender baby showers tend to allow many women to feel more freedom in discussing the specifics of birth, breastfeeding, and other body-related tales that they would not recount in the same space as men. Many people aren't comfortable with that kind of sharing. While technically, yes, it is sexist, it's a side effect of women's bodies and the mechanics of birth being deemed impolite for mixed company. Tell him that. If he continues to insist on coming, despite reasonable objections and your sister, the person of honor's discomfort, he's just being a jerk and using misandry as an excuse. My mother recently had to be moved into a retirement home after an accident. As my mother was not able to save up for retirement, she had to raise 4 of us alone on a nurse salary after my father died in an accident. We decided to split the bill between us siblings, except for my brother, 32 male, who went back to university doing his master's and has no money. We agreed he would pay back the money later. This payment makes out a not substantial but also not small amount of my salary. It's around 15%. Lately, I have gotten into fights around that fact with my wife. My mother is not going into the most fanciest of retirement homes, but it is a good and slightly expensive one. We looked at alternatives, but all the other retirement homes are simply not up to standards, and some were downright horrible. My wife is objecting to that. In my country, the base coverage is paid by the government, thus, theoretically, My mother could go to such a home without any of us paying. However, this home has a bad reputation and is severely lacking resources and personnel. This is the clashing point. My wife, who is coming from a fairly wealthy family, is of the opinion that my mother should have taken care of her pension herself, which she did within her possibilities, and is to blame herself. I really don't know how to deal with the situation because compromise is impossible. My mother is already going to the cheapest acceptable home, and all my siblings are paying the same. And she won't let go of it. Appreciate some advice. I think your wife is out of line. When you marry someone, you support them in taking care of the ones they love. Your mother raised you well and obviously has 4 kids who understand the sacrifices she made so you and your siblings could be successful adults. I have to really question your wife's values when she is making such a big deal out of getting what would be a luxury item. If she came to you tomorrow and it turned out her parents lost their retirement fund due to whatever, would she want you to deny them a decent place to live because you make the majority income, and would it affect your lifestyle? What if her mother lost any and all access to her father's retirement funds? Would your wife tell her, "Sorry, Mom, you should have planned for your retirement and gotten a job like the rest of us adults"? It sounds like your wife has had a lot handed to her in life, but has delusions that she earned it all herself.